Hello, I'm Alex Middleton from Westwood, and this is the RigLogix Offshore Rig Review for the week ending Friday the 10th of December. Starting off with new contracts and extensions. In the North Sea, OMV Norge and Maersk Drilling have entered a one-well firm contract for the provision and operation of low-emission jackup Maersk Intrepid to drill a high-pressure, high-temperature exploration well in the Osweg prospect in Block 35C. The contract is expected to kick off around mid-2022 and may include additional services. However, discussions are ongoing and yet to be confirmed. A one-well option is available to the operator to drill the IRIC exploration well. The contract provides for bonuses to be earned based on performance and emission reduction. The rig is currently working for Equinor in the Martin Linge field, and as reported in July, received another extension under the Master Framework Agreement, which, depending on actual well durations, will keep the rig occupied until February next year. Unless Equinor exercises further options, there may be an idle gap until commencement of the OMV scope of work. In Brazil, Petroserv has been awarded a contract to supply rigs 2 and 3 under Lot 2 of the operator's late 2020 tender. The requirement called for non-MPD capable units, with the rig owner offering ultra-deepwater drillship Carolina and ultra-deepwater semi SSV Victoria. Both rigs are currently working for Petrobras under contracts that end next August. The new contracts will run for 1,040 days, with Petrobras able to cancel the charters after 760 days. China Union and Seadrill both submitted lower bids than Petroserv, but China Union's bid was disqualified, while Seadrill was awarded contracts for 3 units in the Lot 1 tender. In the Middle East, Shelf Drilling had its contract for jackup Rig 141 with Genpetco extended for another 60 days to the end of January 2022. The rig was working on a previous 120-day extension that was due to end late October, but drilling was pushed out to early December, and now the operator has chosen to keep the rig a bit longer. It is working in the Red Sea area, and with the exception of one 25-day well earlier this year, has been with Genpetco since May 2019. Moving on to drilling activities. Trident Energy will return to Block G offshore Equatorial Guinea in 2022 to drill the third of 3 well program. The operator picked up Vantage Drilling jackup Sapphire Driller for a 3-well campaign in the Ellen field that began in July. However, some unexpected downtime on the rig meant only 2 of the 3 wells were completed. Neptune says the top hole section was drilled on the 3rd well and is likely to bring in a rig next year to complete the drilling. The operator added that production from the 1st well has been over double of what was expected. The 2nd well is expected to come online in January. In the meantime, the Sapphire Driller is scheduled to undergo contract preparations for its upcoming 3-year plus 2-year option contract for North Oil offshore Qatar. That drilling is scheduled to begin in late February next year. In Southeast Asia, market sources advise that the COSL-managed semi-sub Shenlan Tanzhou is now drilling the 1st well for Medco Energy. Operations in the Natuna Sea started mid-November and is expected to be completed in the second half of January 2022. The contract is for 3 firm wells plus an optional workover well. The rig is expected to remain in Indonesia until early Q2 2022. This is the unit's 2nd contract and the first time operating outside of China. In the North Sea, Harbour Energy now expects startup of its delayed Tallmount UK project in Q1 2022, with production at net rates of 20,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. The field had previously been expected to produce around 90 million barrels of oil equivalent in total, at peak rates of around 28,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. To remind, RigLogix reported that the jackup Valaris Norway arrived at the Tallmount field in the UK North Sea on the 25th of November. The rig is committed to Harbour Energy for the provision of accommodation support services for a period of 60 days until late January 2022. Ending this week with rigs on the move. In Australia, market sources advise that the jack-up Noble Tom Prosser has completed its last well in the Timor Sea for Santos. The rig is currently being towed back to the Dorado field to drill 3 exploration wells, starting with the Dancer 1, followed by Pava 1 and Apos 1. The wells are expected to take about 35 days each to drill. The rig should arrive at the first location within the next few days. These wells will keep the unit busy with Santos through to March 2022. Beyond that, the contract has 9 well options and is understood that preliminary discussions to exercise those are in progress. If all options are declared, the rig could be busy until Q1 2023. Offshore Mexico, ultra-deep-water semi Valaris DPS-5 has completed a 1-well contract for Eni. The rig drilled the Saskin 2Del appraisal well for the operator in Block 10, completing operations on the 5th of December. The work concludes the rig's time in Mexico, and while not confirmed, it appears that the rig is heading back to the US Gulf of Mexico. Valaris is not believed to have confirmed commitments for the rig at present, and would likely stack it in the Grand Isle area. Some reports have suggested that Eni might extend its contract for the rig, but that is yet to be validated. The Saskin well results should be available shortly. Moving to the Middle East, 4 drilling jack-up Roa has departed the port of Limbo, Cameroon, and is now headed to Qatar and a multi-year contract for Qatar Gas. The rig should arrive in Doha in early January and will begin work shortly thereafter. As per our 6th of November news item, Borr received a 2-year plus 1-year option contract from the operator for work in the North Field. Prior to that, the rig had been idle since completing its first ever contract for ExxonMobil in May 2020. The requirement for Qatar Gas called for a rig built after 2014 that can work in at least 230 foot of water and has an accommodation capacity of at least 140. That's all for this week's Offshore Rig Review. Thanks for listening.